We've already given you an extensive review of the Nio EL6, complete with a driving report, and today we're going to build on that by taking it onto the highway and checking its consumption at 100, 120, 140, 160 kWh to conduct the test. We're going to do the charging test with you from 10 to 80%. We've got the 75 kWh battery here, the smaller version installed, and of course we want to share with you the travel comfort and the assistance systems. Thorough testing. Before we kick off, please check if you're already a part of the plug-in electric community. If not, we'd be delighted if you support us with a subscription. And now let's head out for the consumption drive with the Nio EL6. We have started on our consumption drive. We're planning to hit the highway here in the southwest of Berlin shortly to determine the consumption figures for 100, 120, 140 or 160 kilometers each on the onboard computer. To start with the basics, Stefan, we've installed summer tires in that size.
245 on 20 inches.
It's precisely 22 degrees Celsius outside, truly beautiful. It's a wonderfully sunny spring day indeed. Dismal weather, which really means perfect conditions for the Nio to determine good consumption values. And what gives me hope, just like that, is our city to countryside consumption. Before this video, we already shot the review with the driving report, and it consistently used 15.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers over the last 10 kilometers. That means Nio possesses an onboard computer where you can accurately measure the consumption for either 10 kilometers or for 100 kilometers, depending on your preference. Today, for our new series of tests, we will not be setting the standard 20 kilometers, but will merely go for 10 kilometers instead. Stefan will, of course, also indicate this with an asterisk later in the consumption tables compared to the other tested electric cars for additional clarity. But I'm truly hoping that we can find like 10 kilometer stints here that are topographically quite balanced, so we can actually get some very meaningful data, right? So we're going to do the charging check with you guys to see how travel friendly is the Nio EL6. You get it in two different battery sizes. We have here the 75 kilowatt hours gross, 70.5 kilowatt hours net capacity battery installed. Optionally, you can also opt for a bigger battery. This one has even 100 kilowatt hours gross and 90 kilowatt hours net. So depending on how often you're driving long distances, selecting the smaller or larger battery could be the better, more fitting choice for you. We'll be driving with the Nio Drive, Pilot, or whatever this system is precisely called, so we essentially have comparative values with all other participants. We always use the adaptive cruise control to avoid remarks on whether I have a steady or jittery gas pedal foot. Actually, it's pretty quiet.
He's totally relaxed.
Because it's down, always full?
Correct.
In the heat of the moment, I totally forgot. If you wish to follow us in English, you can do so from now on. Thanks to WI, there's a kind of unique electricity present on a secondary channel, which is named Simply Electric. And of course, you, alongside everyone else here, can also be followed in English as well. The link is in the video description for Simply Electric. We've arrived at our test track. I have carefully set the adaptive cruise control system to maintain our speed steadily at 100 km/h. And now, we are aiming to reset the values stored in the Nio's advanced onboard computer system and then proceed to meticulously track the vehicle's fuel consumption over the subsequent 10 kilometers accordingly to gain a more comprehensive and detailed understanding of its efficiency in various driving conditions. What's really nice is that he doesn't just show us the consumption, but also how the consumption is compiled by the consumers. Super exciting indeed. We'll check back in after 10 kilometers with the first initial consumption data for 62 mph. We've got a first consumption value for consistently driving at an average of 100 km/h over 13 kilometers, but it exclusively measures the final 10 kilometers only. Here you clearly see once again what ultimately all the energy was expended for in the end. And right over here, you can clearly see the energy consumption stands at 15.5 kilowatt hours per every 100 kilometers driven. Well, I must say that really is, without a doubt, a perfectly adequate consumption level.
It's brutal indeed. Well, I must say it's pretty. I like it a lot.
So I'm really excited to see how this amplifies in the next steps when we go up to 120, 140, 160 shortly. To evaluate the Nio EL6's efficiency, we set its cruise at 120 km/h over a 10-kilometer course to measure fuel or electricity use. Our goal was to assess its performance, energy efficiency, cost effectiveness, and environmental impact. This effort supports sustainable driving technologies, enhancing eco-friendly transportation. Is it that time again? Yes, we've driven 10 kilometers. We could measure the consumption for these 10 kilometers right here. Here you can see once again how it spreads out, and 19.4 kilowatt hours for every 100 kilometers. What's currently happening with Nio at the moment? It's quite the small but surprising and significant efficiency wonder when compared to about the new ET5 Touring, right? What's your opinion on that?
The values we achieve here for the construction, I find quite impressive.
I believe that's where the drag coefficient with a value of 0.25 really comes into play. That's actually quite decent for an SUV, you know?
Quite pleasant, huh?
Chaponio. We've adjusted the adaptive cruise control to maintain a steady 140 km/h and aim to reset the onboard computer with you to discover. Over the upcoming 10 kilometers at an average speed of 140 km/h, how consumption evolves over time. Now, we often stumble or stutter. It goes quickly with 10 kilometer stints, doesn't it?
Yes, indeed. That's a bit quicker than usual.
We've driven 11 kilometers to reach this location, and we were actually able to maintain a really good speed of 140 km/h throughout the entire journey. Here you see again the consumption classification, and it has a driving consumption of 22.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers.
I'm increasingly excited.
For such a hefty 2.3, 2.4 ton SUV, this performance is indeed quite decent, don't you think?
That's very neat.
And if you're not interested in going green while driving around, you also have the possibility to reach speeds up to 200 km/h here with the Nio. To drive fast. I must say, I think that's really great. Now, we're hitting a construction site, now we have to ease off the accelerator a bit. And with the impressive 360 kilowatt, I must say, it really pulls quite nicely.
Yes, a nice acceleration through.
So, these extraordinarily impressive 700 newton-meters of torque, it translates very nicely into vertical acceleration, which essentially means longitudinal acceleration.
Yes, very good. He really does it well.
We've fine-tuned the car's cruise control to hold a steady 160 km/h. Next, I'll reset the fuel meter, ensuring measurements start from 0 for accuracy. Our goal is to maintain a 160 km/h for 10 kilometers, aware of possible challenges like heavy traffic, and we're committed to managing these with skill. Keep your fingers crossed. I'm really curious to see how the consumption develops when driving at an average speed of 160 km/h. It functions on the third attempt, right?
Oh, thank goodness.
Yes, we drove exactly 10 kilometers straight at 160 km/h, only experiencing one brief momentary phantom braking in between. Here you can observe the consumption figures displayed separately once again for clarity, and you can see very, very clearly indeed that we currently have a consumption of exactly 30.9 kilowatt hours for every 100 kilometers. Now, it has risen quite a significant amount, hasn't it?
Yes, it was indeed a bit more explosively powerful than with the others.
Well, I really must say, it's precisely 30.7 kilos per hour for those 2.04 tons with us, and exactly 2.6 tons. At 160 km/h, just imagine and think about how many SUV models we've actually tested. Q8 Audi, e-tron, the Volvos, and the...
I'm just starting. They were all over 40.
So I genuinely believe that's absolutely amazing. Really, hats off to you for such an incredible job. By the way, what's also quite commendable and noteworthy is that, just take a look over here, Stefan, I have managed to get the autopilot up to 180 km/h. Yes.
Very good.
That simply means he is actually driving quite smoothly and nicely right in the middle of his own lane too. We are taking a really nice, gentle curve with only one hand now. See, everything's perfectly clear, left and right around us. And I must say, he does it cool, right?
Yes, like pulled by a string.
So, for all those who criticize these cameras and the LiDAR sensor on top of the windshield on the outside as, let's say, not the most beautiful sight to see, I must say, at least it's very well-functioning technology, which is supposed to evolve continuously, because NIO plans, just like all the other manufacturers, especially Tesla, to enable fully autonomous driving. And, well, I have a good feeling that it'll work out with Nio Mod at some point. What do you think?
I'm feeling positive about it too. They've started off well, if they keep it up.
Before we advance to the charging test and observe how swiftly it manages to charge from 10 up to 80%, we absolutely must consult Stefan's, let's just go ahead and call it, comfort meter regarding his opinions on travel comfort.
I must say I'm really sitting comfortably in these luxurious armchairs. But I'd say the side support isn't really that great. And even the thigh side support isn't exactly the best either. But okay, it's not a sports car after all. Accordingly, it's fine, it's comfortable.
I genuinely enjoy this particular firm, yet remarkably soft and extremely comfortable cushioning. I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but you sit here kind of like in a TV chair. Yeah.
Exactly, that's such comfort.
So, and in the recliner, you might not have the best lateral support because since you don't have 360 kilo, 489 HP either, right?
Yes. When I then take my recliner over the Nürnberger, never mind that.
So, I take it you mean you'd like a bit more support from the seat during fast cornering? Yes, exactly. That's my wish too. What I find brilliant though is at NIO, there's the option for a fair extra charge of I think around 2,500 euros to take a slightly more enhanced little comfort package where you can then conveniently sit in the very front, driver passenger side, then also next to the seat heating you have seat ventilation and also the seat massage, which by the way both work excellently. NIO has also apparently developed a new system with the seat manufacturer. And for an extra 500 euros, so for a 2K surcharge, you get the whole thing in the back too. So, if you plan on traveling with more than 4 people quite often, then it certainly makes a lot of sense to consider investing an extra $500 for comfort and convenience. Yes, what's also brilliant is I believe Toysy charges extra for the passenger seats relax feature, which I showed you in the review with the factory. Feel free to check that out. The link is in the video description. And actually, I should be sitting in the passenger seat, Stefan, just relaxing here, guiding you into zero gravity. That's what they call the sitting position weightlessness. You slump down here.
While I'm back at work?
So, to sum up, when we return to the topic of the suspension system, unlike the EL7, which is its bigger brother with an air suspension system, we essentially have adaptive dampers here, where the NIO contextually then controls the damping, right? Does a pretty good job, doesn't it? Yeah.
Doing fine. Nice.
Well, I must say, as a travel car, it's really quite comfortable. Of course, sitting in an SUV, you always feel like you're at a dining table. It's not exactly my vibe, you know. I much prefer sitting quite a bit lower, somewhat closer to the ground, really feeling the texture of the road right beneath me, connecting. But for those who like SUVs, I believe they're well catered to here. With all the good stuff the suspension brings along in a straight line, it gets a bit twitchy in the corners. Because if we happen to take a sharp turn right here, it immediately starts squealing, kind of pushes right over the front wheels, then it corrects. I really have to say that is most likely not quite exactly his very strongest suit then, isn't it truly? Too bad really, because if he were also a corner carving ace, then he might just be our perfect new electric car, right, Stefan?
For instance.
Not too bad, the sound system, right? Although I have this feeling that when there's a bit more bass, the speaker boxes aren't perfectly sealed, are they? Yeah.
Just a bit.
I am not entirely sure. But do you have any idea what is absolutely awesome? Yeah, the Sport Plus mode at 360 kilowatt. See exactly where that one's shooting up, just like a rocket, right? 180, 119. Out of precisely 200.
But also line 200.
Why can't all electric cars go 200? At least those with the power to do so, right?
Yes, very lovely, yes.
Wap, 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 wap. Well, we finally and successfully arrived here at Ionity, this time located in Linte, which indeed represents a significant change.
Yes, since there.
And let's go ahead and charge from 10 to 80% here, and it seems like there's some kind of research and development vehicle from Ingolstadt around here, like Audi, right?
I'd say that.
Maybe an Audi e-tron Q6? The pillar's showing 10% too, and it just jumped right up to over 100 kilowatt, 118 kilowatt. It's supposed to charge up to 140 kilowatt at peak, but now it beautifully went up to 154 kilowatts right away. Stefan, what do you make of that?
It's genuinely a pain, it just doesn't stop. 165 kilowatts.
Yes, very nice. So it seems the small battery with 75 kilowatts might actually be able to charge a lot faster than the datasheet suggests.
Really nice, that's surely true.
170 kilodollars we've got here after reaching a 25% state of charge, friends. You can clearly see how it's charging and pumping in. After 5 minutes, we've already recharged a good 13.9 kilowatts. Those are decent numbers to start with. The charging brake always offers the perfect chance to give you another look at the Nio EL6 from the outside. And there, I must say, we have already gotten quite an impressive taste of the innovative design present in the Nio ET5 Touring, which continues here in the SUV version as well. Up here, quite stunning with the daytime running lights, and finally in the EL6. That's something many Nio customers and supervisors have been longing for. Matrix LED headlights, which means headlights that can also dim and brighten specific areas. Yes, we've got it looking great here with 20-inch alloy wheels. Part polished to a high shine, glossy black, mixed, kind of in an arrow-fied design. It's always very important indeed, particularly when one is aiming for really good consumption values. We've got it here on summer tires, I must say, it's really awesome. Yes, what somewhat divides the community, as I've already mentioned in the video, are the cameras here, and right in the middle, the big bulky LiDAR sensor, which might visually, may not always create the best impression, but overall, yes, they are certainly designed to support you perfectly, accordingly, during your journey. Yes, I do think the real highlight here is also the soft close feature in the doors. And when you actually touch the door handle, the door just pops open a little bit. What always troubled me significantly with the EQS and Tesla models was the constant fiddling around, and then the door wouldn't open, and there you are, still fiddling with it tirelessly. And Nio just solved that perfectly by just making the door come towards you just a little bit. We have it here, very, very beautiful, in a light blue metallic finish. What's the color called?
Stratosphere blue.
Metallic, beautifully complemented with black gloss. By the way, back here in this thick fat C-pillar where you might first think it could obstruct the view, there's essentially a third or even a fourth side window. I must say, exceptionally well done. The rear section is, in my opinion, the cherry on top. It kind of reminds me of the Porsche Cayenne, only the mischievous would think ill of it. Feel free to drop in the comments if you think I might be right. Lovely LED strip lighting. And what can't be missing, of course, is a big fat shark fin, but it's forgivable because at least it integrates the camera for semi-autonomous driving and has a nice rear lip spoiler where a special highlight is hidden. Stefan, what's that?
The rear window wiper?
You noticed that in the review with the test drive here quite well. Imagine this odd lump here in front of us. That's what we constantly criticize, and it seems Nio listened because they watch our videos, right? Yes, okay, that was a bit exaggerated. And has beautifully integrated it down here into the rear spoiler. That's the way I like it. And in doing so, I believe we've also achieved a really, really beautiful look. You'll of course get multiple colors to choose from. Sadly, Frank doesn't have it, which we also critiqued a bit in the review during the test drive, because if you end up with a dirty charging cable in the winter, so with rain and snow, mixing that with the luggage space isn't wise. It boasts a delicate 579 liters here. The rear seat can be folded 40, 20, 40, so even the middle for something bulky or a long object, expanding it to over 1400 liters. And right here we have a double layer floor where we can also comfortably stash quite a little bit of equipment underneath. Yes, what appears to be slightly slow to me is somehow the electric tailgate confirmation here actually. That might very well indeed somehow go just a little tad bit faster. We definitely have roof rails for a roof rack, 75 kilos. And through the display, if we opt for the optional trailer hitch for just about 1,200 euros, then we can also get a trailer hitch. Braked 750 kilos, unbraked 1.2 tons. I would have wished for 1.6 tons or maybe even 2 tons. We know, of course, that other SUVs have a significantly higher towing capacity. And I would be absolutely delighted if Nio could possibly make some improvements on that, because there are some individuals who like to tow horses or the caravan. A big shout out to the Dutch, or possibly a speedy sports boat, right?
For instance.
Meeting up during the charging break, we first thought it was the Audi Q6 e-tron. I'm speculating, but it could be a facelift of the Q4 e-tron. You can clearly see the daytime running lights here and set slightly apart, the headlights all the way to the Matrix LED. And the absolute main highlight here, if Stefan decides to go in and conducts detailed searches, is certainly the interior, since we now have completely different, more advanced displays here than what we've previously known from the Q4 e-tron before. By adding visual enhancements and integrating the latest version of the MMI technology into the design of the Q6 e-tron, we significantly enrich its overall functionality and enhance the interactive experience for the user. Yes, indeed, the rear end of this vehicle looks quite similar, even with its heavy camouflage, to the old model's design. That sure looked snazzy. Just the shark fin, now that's a real lump. Look what a snout it's turned into now.
Chic.
Right? And there's not even a camera in there. The charging speed is always interesting too. Look, it's still at 72% with 139 kilowatt-hours, already charged up 59 kilowatts in 17 minutes. So it appears that Audi has ultimately discovered the perfect path to carefully inject just a little bit more enhanced performance into the electric vehicle's charging speed capability. And that is significantly important for all of the friends who are currently considering purchasing a new Audi Q4 e-tron 2. 80% charge achieved after 28 minutes. We've successfully recharged 66.2 kilowatt hours, and it's still blasting out a strong 127 kilowatts. Nio, what exactly is going on right now? Things are really starting to heat up quite a bit, aren't they? I'm extremely curious to discover where this fascinating journey of exploring charging speeds will eventually lead us next. Let's get to the conclusion with the Nio EL6. And I have to say, now after the charging test, I'm really impressed that with this new battery chemistry. It charges the battery from 10 to 80% in significantly under 30 minutes. With the small battery, we've already shown you the big battery in the Nio ET5 touring video. It was indeed faster, I believe. It might have been about 25 minutes as far as I recall. So, Nio really stepped up their game with the new batteries, and I believe this will contribute to a positive overall image for Nio since they consistently produce solid premium cars. Soft, close matrix LED here in the EL6. Great build quality inside, a nice mix of materials, yet futuristic. Not just rehashing the old, but truly new design steps. I kind of miss how I affectionately always call her Naomi, even though it's Nomi, sorry for that. Nomi, who then casts another brief glance over here. It's somewhat of another highlight, isn't it? It's just a relatively small thing, for sure it costs a bit extra, but it genuinely makes the Nio stand out, doesn't it?
Yes, it's such a small, nice gadget, you know, that you can take another look at.
Yes. So the innovative voice control feature, it actually works remarkably, quite fantastically indeed. And of course, something that you also have, which we haven't shown you in this video, but with the Nio ET5 Touring, is route planning, including charging planning, where of course the charging stops are planned accordingly. I find that all of this is rather vitally important nowadays, especially when you're setting out on a particularly long journey with such a significantly large car. Yes, actually, I can't really say much negative. Feel free to check out Nio's website. There are also several Nio houses, such as in Berlin, where you can take test drives, where you can get a real sense of the car for yourselves, and where the Nio customer advisor can physically offer you interesting leasing, financing, and subscription deals, since Nio also prefers offering vehicles on a subscription basis with contracts of varying durations to cater to diverse needs. I think it ranges from extremely short terms to up to 60 months. Our contact had let us in on that. Exactly, so if you're interested, you'll definitely be able to find what you're looking for. And there, one really just has to decide, do you want the small or the large battery?
I think there's something for everyone.
And let's not forget, Nio also has battery swap stations, I believe currently 4 of them. In the south, in the west, in Berlin, one is being created, and I believe near Hanover, where you can also exchange batteries if you've rented, leased, or subscribed to the cars or the battery. So that's quite practical, of course, because then I believe you can swap batteries in a good 5 minutes. We need to try that out again, right?
That is definitely on our current agenda today.
And with that, we've reached the end of today's video. We hope you enjoyed it. You give it a thumbs up. Please feel free to check again if you're part of the Simple Electric community. If not, we'd be thrilled if you could support us with a subscription, and then we'll see each other in one of the next videos. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and see you soon. Yours, Ollie, you, Stefan. Yes, it's quite nice, isn't it, when a car manufacturer watches and listens to our videos and the rear wiper integrated into the spoiler, right? Yes.
That's awesome. Why not everyone like this?
Looks so much prettier and more elegant, doesn't it, when it's not kind of in the way, right?